You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, and today I want to talk a little bit about the ordinary to the extraordinary. So, wanting your dream life and what is involved in that breakdown before the change. I also want to note that the Embody You Mindset Mastery, Mind, Body, Spirit course that I run that teaches you exactly this subject is closing on the 25th of February. So if you are listening to this in real time, the enrollment will be closing on the 25th of February. So you're going to head over to my website, www.livefreewellness.ca, to get more information on that. Okay, so the ordinary to the extraordinary. So what do we want? We want wealth. We want happiness. We want passion. We want desire. We want fun, connection, all these things. And I wasn't going to go here, but one thing that we assimilate with all of that is we say, well, if I have money someday, then I'll have all those things. But until then, I'm held captive by my poorness. So that's something to reframe here. Not that this is a money episode. However, I'm going to write that down as something that I'll do next. But that's something that we need to reframe, that money is not the bringer of all of those things. All of those things are the bringer of the money. Okay. So that's just something to reframe there. So we decide that we want all these things. We want passion and connection, desire, and money. And we walk into the gym and we try to pick up the 300-pound weight. So let me explain that. So we go from not walking on the treadmill, not like working in our businesses, not sitting down to read the book, not doing meditation, all these sorts of things. And then we dive into all of it. We get this feeling of like, I want to be happy. And then suddenly we're meditating for 30 minutes. We're reading a book for an hour at night, and we're jumping on the treadmill and we're running. And what happens every time is that our ego starts screaming at us and begging us to just go back to safety, because that's what the ego does. And again, the ego is a good thing. It's just not a good thing in this instance. It tells you to stop everything and just go back to safety. So you do. So then you stop everything and you quit. So you need to think of it like a gym. If you walk into a gym and you try to pick up the 300-pound weight, you are going to pull something. you are not going to be able to do it, or if you are going to be able to do it, you're going to injure yourself. And going after the things that we want is the exact same way. You truly have to pick up the 2-pound weights first and do that for a short period, followed by the 3 pounds and the 4 pounds and the 5 pounds. And to further that, you might only be able to go to the gym for 10 minutes the first time that you go. But yet, every single time that we start a gym regime, we walk in and we go for an hour when we haven't been doing anything. And what happens, right? We're so bloody sore the next day, and we're just like, oh man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that for 3-4 days. And then by the time the 4th day comes, you're kind of not really in the mood to go anymore, and maybe you don't go the second time, but maybe you muster up the willpower to go the second time, in which case, okay, great, but then the 3rd time and then the 4th time, you're not making it to the 5th. There's no way. Your willpower will run out. So when you want your dream life and you want to go from ordinary to extraordinary, it is the exact same way. You have to show up at the gym for 10 minutes and pick up the 2-pound weights every single day. You have to get into the habit of the thing that you want relentlessly with compassion, patience, and peace. And when you get started, there's going to be a breakdown. So what do I mean by breakdown? When you start this gym regime, and I'm going to keep coming back to the gym regime, and I think the reason why is because it's such an easy and relatable explanation of both our mental and our physical body and how they work the same. So when you go to the gym for the first time and you go for 10 minutes and you pick up the 2-pound weights, if you go long enough, you will feel some soreness the next day. If you don't go long enough at all, you'll feel totally fine, but your results are coming much slower. So it's about finding that edge. It's about getting in the in-between of picking up the 2-pound weights and lifting them for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then your arms start to shake and you're like, okay, well, just one more minute because my arms started shaking. So I'm getting close to my edge. So then you push it that 1 more minute. You are going to be sore the next day. But that soreness doesn't indicate that you should stop, right? That soreness indicates that you're doing well, that you're breaking down those muscles so that you can have the change. But we don't equate soreness in our emotional centers to the breakdown before the change. We make meaning out of it. So we say, oh man, like I started making these changes toward passion, wealth, connection. And as I started that, a friend got mad at me, or my boss reacted poorly, or my husband said he doesn't know who I am anymore, or whatever it is. And we go, ooh, yeah, that's obviously a sign from the universe that I should put the metaphorical 2-pound weights down. And then we quit. And it's this meaning making that is ruining our results. That say, because I wasn't able to start my day today the way that I wanted to, because the first thing that happened was my kids peed the bed or whatever, and I wasn't able to do my meditation. That must mean that I'm just not meant for this. That some people can have it and I can't. That when they touch things, they turn to gold. And when I touch things, they turn to shit. And that's just not true. And I understand how seductive it is. I get it because I'm starting a business. I understand this emotion so well, my friends. This fear that you're just not meant for great things and everyone else is, or not even everyone else, but just certain people are of certain skin color, body type, background, all of these sorts of things. And then you're just like, well, that's not me, so I don't fit that. And thus I can't have ordinary to extraordinary, right? And it's this meaning making that is keeping us stuck. Also taking on too much, okay? So let's move on to my next part. So when you go to the gym and you're super sore the next day, what's important to do is to see yourself in this desire, to see yourself in the person that you want to be, and say, like, I'm sore and these things are happening, and my boss said this thing and my husband said this thing and those sorts of things, because I am breaking down everything around me so that I can have this change. Because make no mistake, you cannot have ordinary to extraordinary without a breakdown. Your walls need to fall on the house that you're renovating. You know, you need to rip out that wall in order to make that open concept. You need to cut out a piece of the exterior wall in order to create that pop out in the house. Those things need to be altered. Your life will need to change in order to make room for these changes that you'd like to have. So it's so important that you allow that and that you keep seeing yourself in this desire. And when everything's breaking down around you, because it will, if you want ordinary to extraordinary, it will. You need to see yourself in the desire. You need to say, this is part of the process. And that means I'm getting closer to the thing that I want. So let's dial back with a story. If you've been listening to me for a long time, you know this story. But, so I have, and everybody has a story, of course. But I have not had necessarily the silver spoon life per se. I've definitely had a really good life. I cannot complain. But I have had things in my life that have been difficult. Everybody has. And I remember sitting in my car thinking, these bad things keep happening, and I don't know what's happening and why bad things keep happening to me, where the people around me, they seem to have things work out for them and those sorts of things. And I remember asking God, universe, source, you choose, what works for you. I remember asking, I just want to be happy. I just want to be connected to my husband. I just want to have things work out once in a while. I just want happiness. And I remember asking God, universe, source, whatever you need to do in order to get me to the other side of this bad things keep happening riff, I'll do it. I remember sitting in my car. I remember sitting in the parking lot. I remember the building I was sitting in front of. And I remember saying, whatever it is that I need to do to get to my higher self, to get to my purpose, to get to this space of freedom and enjoyment, I'll do it. And I remember driving away feeling so good. Like, you know what? I think God, universe, source heard me. I think that I'm going to see some changes. And then thinking that I'm going to see some positive changes as the result of my prayer, bam, the breakdown, the cancer, the sickness, my husband and I, at the time we were just dating, almost divorcing, or breaking up, I guess. All of the things around me that I was complaining about got worse. And what's important to note here is that worse is a judgment. It is a construct. It is a belief. So it got bad is a belief that the thing that I asked for from God, universe, source wasn't coming, and that God, universe, source hated me. And in fact, it was the opposite, because when I got to the other side of a lot of these breakdowns, and it took time, I got more connected to the person that I am than I ever have. I got closer to the connection and the power and the wealth and the passion and the desire and the higher self, and my marriage improved. Well, we got married then, and our relationship improved immensely, and all of these beautiful things happened as a result of this breakdown. Now, at the time, it was really difficult to label the breakdown as a positive thing. So, understand that when the things start breaking down around you, that you may not feel 110% about that breakdown. You might go, like, I hate this. And that's okay. It's okay to hate it. But you also have to have unwavering faith that this is your desire coming manifest. At the time, I didn't see it, but I see it now. And isn't that the story that everybody hears, that everybody says? I didn't see how it was for me. I just felt like life was to me. And then when I got to the other side of it, I realized it was all for me. It's the same story here. So if you want ordinary to extraordinary, understand that there will be a breakdown. Okay? And as that breakdown happens, you need to start to shift once the heavy part of the breakdown happens, because there'll be a big part where you're in just survival mode, and you're just like, oh, I don't know why these things keep happening. That's a time to go inwards. That's a time to be in compassion. That's a time to preserve yourself and to give yourself patience. But once the breakdown starts to subside, because it will, and that's the beauty of this, is that if you want ordinary to extraordinary, there'll be a period of time, but it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be 2 years, like me. You pick. And you know what? What really matters in that period of breakdown is how you feel and how you take care of yourself, and where that compassion comes in. And when you have that compassion for yourself during that breakdown, that's when you speed up the timeline of the breakdown. But once it starts to subside, so moving on here, once it starts to subside a little bit and you're starting to feel like you have a minute of breath, it's important to start making moves, even though you're terrified. Even though you feel like, I don't know if this is, if I can do this. Other people can do this, but I don't know if I can do this. Even though you're fearful, it's important to make moves, even though you're scared, if you have those intuitive hits. So if something says, just show up, just pick up that weight, just start that business, or tell your husband about this getaway, or whatever it is that you're wanting, when that starts coming into play, recognize that the fear is truly just your ego. It is truly just your context box of reality saying, this is not something that you do. So if this is not something that you do, you shouldn't do it, because you could land up falling on your ass again, like you did during the breakdown. And you don't want that, so stay safe. But it's this inner knowing and this trust that whatever is holding you, you pick what's right for you, energy, God, source, meaning, understanding, life purpose, whatever it is that you connect to, that and you say, I'm scared, but I know that I want this. I know that the people that I look at that touch things and they turn to gold, it's because they felt fear and they moved forward. And then you just keep moving forward. One baby step in front of the other. You just keep showing up for your goal, for your belief, for your thing that you want. And as you keep showing up for that thing, it will start to become easier. It will start to become more natural. And let's go back to the example in the beginning. When you pick up the 2-pound weight, and then the 3, and then the 4, and then the 5, you get to the 300-pound weight with time, perseverance, and persistence. It's the exact same situation here, is that you keep showing up with time, patience, perseverance, and persistence. And eventually, you're going to show up in that space of that thing that you want with confidence, with unapologeticness. If you've been listening to my podcast, you can see the ways in which I changed as a speaker and as a person. You know, I started off kind of rocky, but that's because I had never made a podcast before. And now I'm sitting here drinking a cup of coffee, taking breaks in between because, it's just a podcast. If people want to hear what I have to say, they're gonna wait the 1 second for me to have my sip of coffee. Whereas in the beginning, I was so structured. I just did my makeup just so that I could do a podcast. No one could see me. You know what I mean? But that's just it, is that, we honestly, as you make those moves, they become more natural, more normal. And then you can start to see yourself in your desire. And let's move back to the very beginning of the podcast when I said, what do you want? And you believe that once you have X, Y, Z, you can be happy. Once you have money, you can have connection, you can have compassion, you can have passion, desire, all of those sorts of things. You believe that it's the money that will bring it to you. But in fact, it's the opposite, right? It's getting that connection and that compassion and those passion that's going to bring you the money. And it's the same story here now, fast forwarding to the place where you're making your moves, even though you're scared, is that when you get to a place where it starts to feel more natural, that is when all of these things start to fall into place, and all of the things that you wanted in the beginning, you realize that it's not outside of you. It's not once you get there, it's within you. And when you work from a place of what's within you, you speed up the timeline. You start to understand that everything that you've ever wanted is already here. You already have. And you can only see this once you start making moves. But everything that you ever wanted is already here. Like I've been in this place of like fear, do it anyway, for so long. But yet the other day I sat down and I journaled about all the things that I want in life. And I looked back at what I had written, and I have all of them. I really do. I don't have the biggest expression of all of them yet, but I do. I have what I want. I have the connection. I have the love. I have the home. I have the car. Maybe I don't have the fancy car, which I'm not sure if I necessarily care about that anyway, but that's irrelevant. But, I don't have the fancy car, I don't have the fancy house, I don't have the fancy whatever, but I have everything that I want. I have everything that I need. And, on a personal note, I don't want a fancier house. I don't want a fancier car. I want the ability to travel when I want to travel. I want the ability to take in experiences when I want to take in experiences. So what I can do is that when I travel, is I can go and I can enjoy it within the fullest expression of the budget that I currently have. And when I want to experience, when I, like take in experiences whenever I want to take in experiences, then that means that I can live in the fullest expression of enjoying that experience, no matter what that experience is. So it's about now moving into a space where you start to embody the person that has all the things that you want. The person, you see yourself in the desire, you get really, really clear, and you're just like, you know what? I see myself here. It's no longer outside of me. It's within me. It's not once I get the money, I'll be happy. It's no, I can see myself in this desire. I can see myself in this person. I can see myself in this house having everything that I want. And it's when you make that shift that you start to see that life is everything that you ever wanted. It's not a far outreach thing like you originally thought. You had this picture in your mind of these people having everything that they wanted, and you thought, once I'm skinny, once I'm rich, once I'm this, I will be happy. But when you start to cultivate this space that says, I am happy, I am free, I do have so much of all the things that I want, and that's when you start to see yourself in the desire. That's when you start to see, Christine in the thing, in the ordinary to the extraordinary. Not some, I don't know about you, but not some like manicured version of the you that seems otherworldly, like seems like something that you could never touch. It's that's when you start to really shift. Okay? And then another thing that we do once we get to that space, once we've gone through all these steps, we get to this place where we need to remember to release the result. So the person that you wanted to be in the very beginning, the connection, the passion, once you get near, like once you've gone through all these steps and you're getting closer, it's about releasing the result. So if you want, say, passion, you want to pursue your passion, it's about releasing the result of what that passion looks like, that career or that thing that you're so passionate about. If you say, I want to paint paintings in a high school for high school kids, you'll miss the opportunity to work in the art gallery that was right there begging you to say like, hey, come join our art gallery, because you're so hyper-focused on working in the high school with the kids that you didn't realize that the art director was interested in your paintings. And what you didn't realize in that is that when you created that goal in the first place, you created a goal that and a belief that you wanted. You created that from a space of, I'll never be able to work into an art gallery, so I guess I'll do art for kids in a high school. Even though that's not my dream is to work in an art gallery. But you were working from a different context then. You were working from a different space before the breakdown started happening. And so now it's about releasing that result so that you can see the art director, so that you can get into the thing that you always wanted anyway. So that's when you start to play in the opportunities. That's when you start to to allow the directionality of the God, universe, source to start to say, hey, try left instead of right. When you get that intuitive hit to turn left instead of right, turn left. Okay? And then the final and most important step in moving from ordinary to extraordinary is allowing yourself to get to all of the dreams and the desires that you wanted. And now at first blush, that probably sounds like a duh, but you would be surprised at the amount of people who do not allow themselves to receive the things that they want because they're so rooted in this, well, but I'm the person that touches things and they turn to shit. That's who I am. I've had this hard life. I haven't had a silver spoon life. I'm tough. And when they say that, I'm tough, then the universe just keeps giving them more things to be tough about. So it's allowing it to be easy. Allowing the good things to come. Dropping your stories that say, no, I'm this vigilante. Life's hard for me, and that's what makes me special. And saying, you know what? I'm putting the bags down, and I'm going to allow myself to walk through this process with open arms. And I know at the beginning, when I talked about the breakdown, chances are you were kind of like, ooh, that doesn't sound fun. I don't think I want to enter into ordinary to extraordinary. I don't know if I want to make this change. It's important to note that these breakdowns can be very quick. Very, very quick if you aren't resistant to them. Okay? There will be a breakdown. I can almost guarantee it. If you want to make a change in your life, something needs to shift in order to make room for that new thing. Especially if you're, quote unquote, busy all the time. There needs to be a space where there's some room that gives way. So know that there will be a breakdown, but it is not a long storm. And if it is a long storm, you're going to be all the more extraordinary as a result. If you have big desires like I did, then you may have big breakdowns to go through. That could be. But it's about releasing that guilt, releasing that fear around whether or not it's bad or worse. And instead saying, this breakdown is here for me. It's here for me. Life is for me so that I can get all the things that I want. And to further that, if you are wanting to go from ordinary to extraordinary in a space that is faster, smoother, and more supported, then enter into a course with me. Enter into Embody You, Mind, Body, Spirit, so that when you get to the other side of it, that you had support, had love, had guidance the entire time so that you could quicken the timeline and lessen the blow. This is why I do what I do. Because I want to help people to move through these steps faster than I did, with less pain than I did. I want to speed up their timeline for their results. That's precisely why I do what I do. So all my love, I hope that this has been illuminating and helpful. I'm always here. You can connect with me through Instagram, which is my preferred platform. You can connect with me with Facebook as well, but it might take me a while to get back to you. You can also take a screenshot of this episode and tag me in it, and then we can connect that way. Or if you are wanting to look deeper into my courses, My biggest recommendation would be to find me through Instagram, check out the link in the bio, or to DM me directly, and then we can talk from there. All my love, you guys. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friends.